We are joined by Ran Yaakoby, and Ran is the Israeli ambassador to New Zealand, which would be a pretty interesting job right now, and I thought he would be an interesting person to talk to. He's agreed to, and he joins us now. A very good morning to you from the platform. Thank you for joining us, Ambassador.
Thank you. Good morning, Sean. Good morning to all listeners.
Okay, look, can we just say, are you on the speakerphone, or are you? That line is just a bit quick.
I am with an earpiece. Would you like me to speak?
Yeah, just try it. So you're just a little muffled.
No problem.
Take the earpiece out.
Is this better?
Yes, much better. Thank you very much indeed.
Great.
And I'll try and speak clearly and enunciate clearly. Firstly, Ambassador, this must be a hard time for Israelis, not just here in New Zealand, but indeed around the world.
Well, it's hard to imagine otherwise. I think, like myself, most Israelis in Israel and around the world do not sleep much. This probably is also the case of Jewish communities and Israel and Jewish-friendly communities around the world. I'm just, jumping between news outlets and just heard about a rocket landing in Tel Aviv, and this definitely does not add to the atmosphere in Israel or outside Israel.
Yeah. The attacks of October 7th were... they almost beggared belief in a modern context. I think no one could look at what happened on that day without almost disbelief at the barbarity of it. We now seem to be stuck in a narrative that suggests, and I'd like you to address this, that the Israeli Defence Force has responded with the same sort of barbarity, that both sides are essentially terrorisers or war criminals. Could you, from your government's point of view, explain what the response has been to those terrorist attacks? And what is the guiding principle of the military action you are taking in response?
Well, we have to admit one thing before we answer that. We were surprised. At the end of the campaign, we will have to check thoroughly how come we have been surprised. We have been surprised also because there was no warning. And this relates to the Israeli response that for 3 weeks have been warning the citizens of Gaza to clear to the south of the Gaza Strip. And this is maybe one of the main differences. While we aim at military Hamas terroristic targets, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, we're aiming at civilians. While we try to mitigate, and this is a war situation and no war is pleasant, the civilians, and to assist in any way possible without losing our eye on the target. And the target is Hamas. By the way, also for the benefit of the Gazans. We've been suffering over a decade and a half of this terror rule.
What is the objective of this war then? To wipe out Hamas? Is the objective then to totally annihilate Hamas?
Yes, and in parallel to do everything possible. People keep forgetting that there are around 240. We change it almost on a daily basis because we are still working hard on identifying the charred bodies of many civilians left behind. So we don't know exactly who is there. This is one of the problems. Hamas, while demanding, together with support around the world, of, I believe, innocent, naive people, that humanitarian law will be observed, and it is observed by Israel, has zero concern to humanitarian law when it comes to their own citizens and the 240 or so kidnapped people, Holocaust survivors, babies, a woman that was in her 9th month of pregnancy. I hope that she delivered safely in one of the Hamas.
Okay, so you've got these dual things. You want to wipe out Hamas and you want to get the hostages back. Can you have both? And surely the way to get the hostages back is to negotiate their release.
Which is being done through many other, not Israel. Israel does not negotiate with Hamas, but through many others. And you've been reading, like everybody else, about the Americans and the French and the Germans and the Qataris that we don't like, but still we talk to because we have no choice. They are in part financiers of Hamas and Islamic Jihad. In parallel, we understand then without flushing Hamas out of their tunnels. And it was Helen Clark who said 500 kilometers, so I would like to believe her, of tunnels underground. We have to flush them out. We have to flush them out, and this is why we need to be on the ground and not just bomb from the air, because we have, to be discriminate, mitigate for the minimum civilian casualties we can, and we would like to do so without harming the kidnapped civilians, by the way, from over 20 different nationalities.
Ambassador, thank you for that. I now want to just turn our attention, if we can, or the focus of this discussion, to New Zealand. And you are your government's diplomatic representative here. There has been some news coverage in recent days, indeed, about our government's initial reaction to October the 7th. Of course, it was prior to our election, and suggestions that our, at the time, Foreign Minister Nanaia Mahuta severely moderated what our foreign affairs officials recommended was said about the attacks. In general terms, has the Israeli government felt supported by the New Zealand government and New Zealand government representatives in regards what has happened since October 7th?
Well, I think we can definitely draw a line from Hipkins, Prime Minister Hipkins' reference to it a few hours later, probably in an attempt to correct Nanaia Mahuta's first tweet. And then we started a real discussion, and I'm on a daily discussion with people in AMFAT. The first retort came too late. I got already phone calls from Israel. Hey, what's going on with New Zealand? They are the last Western-style society to react, and what do they have to say? And I've made my calls and asked for a reaction. The first reaction, and also some sort of correction, were I think equating a terror organization with a sovereign state, equating a terror organization with the IDF, it was bordering an insult. Since then, we've heard a better expression.
So let me just clarify that. You feel that the New Zealand official reaction was bordering on insulting towards Israel?
Absolutely. The first one by Nanaia Mahuta was insulting, if not worse. I used with my colleagues in AMFAT worse wording that I will not repeat here over the radio.